Welcome to Start Before You're Ready, the podcast that proves that you don't need to wait for the perfect moment to begin your journey towards better health and happiness. I'm your host, Kelly Young. Remember, the first step is often the hardest, but it's always worth taking. Hey guys, it's Kelly, and I'm back with another episode of Start Before You're Ready. I am so excited to introduce you to my friend, Jen. I call her Jen P, and I sometimes mix her up with a high school friend that I have, Jen P. But she is a boot camper. She's actually a boomerang boot camper. She's been gone for a little while, and she came back. And she started in April of 2021. And I remember the first day I met her at the studio, we just instantly connected. We had some things in common. She's from up north. She went to Syracuse, and she was just really easy, fun to talk to, very authentic. And I was like, I really love this girl, and I'm very grateful that she became part of our workout community. And we're going to talk today about how our worlds have collided in other ways. She is also a business owner. Our businesses work really well together for a reason that might not make sense until we actually get a chance to explain it. But I'm going to let Jen introduce herself to you and kind of how she started, let you guys know how she started with KBC and her kind of why in getting started. And we'll go from there.
Thanks, Kelly. This is so weird, but I'm so excited to be here. So yeah, I started with KBC in 2021. It was a weird time, right? We're kind of slowly starting to come out of the pandemic, and I had started my own business, so I was spending a lot more time with just me. I actually got laid off during the pandemic and was figuring a lot of things out. And I remember wanting to start KBC because during the pandemic, I started walking a lot. And I was walking, and I was actually noticing changes like physically. I was walking a lot faster, and it was helping a lot. And at the same time, one of my really good friends was doing boot camp. She did it all the time. And I always was curious about it, but I was always very certain it wasn't for me. I could never do those things. I could never go to boot camp. I could never work out outside in a parking lot. That's for other people. But then one day I was just talking with her, and I probably had a cocktail or two, and I was like, I want to go do that boot camp thing you do. And she was like, great, we'll go tomorrow, or whenever it was, however many days later. And I went, and like I was instantly hooked. Not that I was good at it, not that it wasn't like the scariest, hardest thing, but it was fun in a weird way. I've never hated something and loved it like that before.
Yeah.
And I could do it, right? I mean, I wasn't doing it the way you were doing it, but like I could do it. And I just saw how nice everyone was there. Oh, my first boot camp, Christy had promised me there's no running. You had us line up and do snakes, okay?
The snake, which is which is running or fast walking.
I was running because at the beginning of boot camp, you knew I was signing up, and you were like, is like Jen here? Is new Jen here? And I was like, that's me. And everyone was calling me newbie. And so when we were running the snakes, everyone was like, you got it, new girl. You got it, newbie. I was like, oh my God. So I was running off of like the energy of that, not because my body can normally run. But I was like, if this place is that encouraging all the time when I feel like I'm failing, then okay, like this is something I can go back and do. So yeah, I loved it.
So it became, so in 2021, we're going to just kind of tell your fitness story first.
Yeah.
In 2021, you established a great routine. You became someone that was consistent with exercise.
100%. I remember when we met in your studio too, I came in for like an assessment and you were like, let me see a push-up. And I just like laid down. I was like, nope.
That's why I liked you.
Yeah,
I was like,
I cannot.
This girl's the real deal.
And you were like, seriously? But yeah.
No, I didn't say seriously. I was like, seriously, can you really not do one?
I could not do
don't
one.
say like I said seriously, like I was judging you not being able to do a push-up.
I had zero arm.
You were probably being silly.
I had zero arm strength.
Yeah.
And yeah, this became like a habit and a lifestyle like instantly. And like I was telling you earlier, by my birthday in July, I attempted my birthday push-ups. And I think I did half of them from my toes. Like that's that's cool.
Oh, wow. So that's a very short amount of time to get a lot stronger with
Yeah.
your upper
Yeah. So
body.
who's not going to
Yeah,
feel
because you
good?
probably weren't. Yeah, yeah. And that's one thing I always like to point out to potential members and new members. We're never disappointed when you can't do a lot of anything in the beginning or when you can't do something in the beginning because we recognize that as potential. That means that when you're able to do it, like that was, 5 years ago, and you still remember, hey, I remember when I couldn't do a push up, and then it felt so amazing to be able to get half my birthday reps in. So that's really powerful, Jen. I love that you shared that. Also, so how did you establish a routine? Because I think that's something a lot of people struggle with. And at the time you were starting your own business and you're a mom and all the things. So how did you establish that routine?
I it's hard to completely remember, but I know I loved boot camp on Saturdays. And my friend who introduced me did the 7 a.m. So at first I wanted to go with her. Like I didn't want to go alone. It was nice driving together. And when you're starting your own business, all of your days are so busy. And I started really noticing I was more productive on days I got up and got out of the house early. I was home on a Saturday by 8:15 and had already accomplished my workout for the day. For me, that was pretty big. I love sleeping and I love sleeping in. Um, so that became, I don't know, became addicted to that really early. And people would always say, why do you want to go so early on a Saturday? Why wouldn't you at least do the 8 o'clock? I'm like, because I like to be home by 8 o'clock, right? And start my day
Yeah.
and do my
Yeah.
things. And then I slowly
Yeah.
started trying the classes at Energy. And every time I tried something new, it was intimidating because you don't know exactly what you're walking into. But I slowly started to find the classes that I liked and started figuring out how my body like reacted to certain classes. Like it
Yeah.
was weird for me. Like if I did like an Amy class, like beats or, something that's just high energy for a straight hour, I start strong, in the middle I die, and then somehow at the end I get all my energy back. And I'm
Hmm.
just as
You
yeah, I'm
recharge,
just as
but you
recharged.
start strong.
Yeah, I
Okay.
start pretty strong.
Okay.
I get exhausted. I'm like, I'm not going to finish. And then by the time I finish, I'm just as energized as when I start.
Yeah, that is weird. Well, as you get into shape, that might or might not change. But yeah, I like that. I'm the opposite. I always start off slow and not very energetic or strong. And then like 15, 20 minutes, that's when my juices start flowing. And then I could go
Yeah.
forever. So everybody's different. But yeah, it is interesting to think about it like
Mhm.
that. Okay, let's talk about how then you got injured, right? Or you had an
I got
injury.
injured. I sprained my ankle and tore a bunch of like two ligaments just completely snapped away. So
Yeah.
I couldn't walk and I was really scared my balance was going to be gone. Um so I was on crutches, I was in a boot, I was doing PT, and I remember at the beginning of PT like being like how long till I can get back to boot camp. And then by like the end of PT, I don't know what happened. I would go for like occasional walks, but I was moving slow. I think, really scared of re injuring it. I mean, it was just a sprain, nothing broke, but maybe it was a ligament snapping. I don't know, but that pain was not like anything I'd ever experienced. Um, and I think I was just really scared. I didn't want to jump on it. I didn't want to like balance on it. Um, and so my routine, yeah. And so the routine was gone. And now, I mean, it's been years and I've never gotten back to the same routine as before that, right? I can't remember the last time I went to boot camp. I go to classes now, but 7 a.m. boot camp, I don't know why. I don't know why I feel differently about it. Um, I've been now going,
But that's okay because you're doing what's comfortable for you now, and that's something that we
I'm doing
encourage.
what's comfortable for me now. I think I've told
Yes.
you, I have some new issues that I'm just looking at with my heart. So I'm seeing a cardiologist. So, like the Amy classes and stuff that I loved, I'm a little more apprehensive about too. I'm focusing more on lifting. So it's almost like new for me because I'm not doing the circuit classes and the high energy classes. I'm focusing on the lifting classes. So it's kind of like a new learning curve. because I'm focusing mostly
Yeah.
on strength. But I'm hoping to stick with this and just, somehow get that feeling back that I had
Yeah.
originally.
It's exactly what I would tell you. And we didn't really talk before you came back because um you were out for a while and you had, I think you originally you had a reason and then it kind of became you just were nervous to get back, and that's very common. And when people are nervous, I just say start with, first of all, you don't need to come every day. That's the first thing I say. You don't need to come every day. Start with a time slot and a format that you feel most comfortable with. And as you gain your confidence and you gain your trust back and maybe some strength back and some stamina back, then you see, oh, maybe you do a circuit that's got a little bit of cardio and a little bit of strength. That's what I value so much about our programming is it's not if you're not coming to Saturday boot camp, you're not out of the game. That's just one of 40 classes that we offer, right? So that's really important. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Jen. And do you feel now that you're doing strength classes, can you feel yourself getting
Yeah,
stronger?
no, absolutely. And I was so comfortable coming in, like all the faces that, I had missed seeing and getting welcomed walking in. So I wasn't nervous, even though they weren't my usual classes. Um, and yeah, no, I'm definitely enjoying lifting again for sure.
Okay, so now you've got a routine, and you told me you mentioned it today too, that you feel like you're so much more productive in your day when you get a workout in
Yeah,
first.
100%. If I sign up for a class that's early and just get there, right? So I wake up
Yeah.
and my priority is, seeing my kid in the morning, getting him off, getting myself to a workout. Then I can come home and focus on my business for the rest of the day instead of having a nagging voice in the back of my head that maybe I need to time my day so I can get
Mm-hmm.
to a class later in the afternoon. But when you get
Yeah.
up and you take care of yourself in the morning and get your energy going, it just, I don't know, it helps me.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about what Jen does. So, the name of this podcast is called Start Before You're Ready. And I think anybody that starts their own business is not ready because you have no idea what you're really getting into. And Jen has an amazing, and I'm going to talk about how she's helped me personally in a little bit, but an amazing organization business called The Pink Closet, and she is rocking it. She is absolutely crushing it as a business owner. And the work that she does is really meaningful to her clients. I can speak directly to that. And she loves what she does. And she's very, very good at it. So, Jen, I am curious. I don't even think I know the story. How did you start? How did you start?
I guess it is a story of start before you're ready for sure. But um, so I've worked in recruiting and HR for most of my career, and I was laid off at the beginning of the pandemic and didn't know what I wanted to do, but didn't want to go back to a desk job. I was just done with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I will try to tell this story as quickly as possible. Um,
No, take your time.
I started helping a friend who was just struggling in a lot of areas. She had a lot of things on her plate and her house had kind of taken over. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to help you get your house in order while you deal with the other things that you have to deal with. And I was organizing her house and was really enjoying it and was really enjoying how much it was helping her. And the meantime, I was, doing my job search and I saw a posting for a professional organizer to go work for another one. And I was like, I might as well give that a try. So I sent them some pictures of what I was doing and I started working with this other organizer and it was fantastic. I was moving all day. I was doing something that I love doing naturally. Clients are so happy. Like it was just so much fun. But working for another organizer, I wasn't financially making the money I wanted to. And all of her clients were in DC. And I didn't want to keep going into DC all the time. So I sat down and talked with my husband about it and decided I want to start a company. And he sat with me one day and we did all the paperwork. And before I really knew what I was doing, I had opened the pink closet. The name just came to me. The company almost named itself. When we first moved into my house here, we have a very small, wonky walk-in closet in our bedroom, and I had my husband gut it, and I drew out how I wanted him to build it, how it would be most efficient, and he built it for me, and then he surprised me by painting it hot pink.
Oh, I didn't know this story. I should know this.
And so my closet, it's actually
Oh.
not hot pink, it's more of a bubblegum. But so my closet is pink, and so I named the company the Pink Closet. And then I was back to helping my friend organize her house. And one day I was working on the garage, and someone came over and asked me, like, are you having a yard sale? And I said, no. And I kind of fibbed. I said, this is my client's house and I'm helping her get organized. And they were like, well, great. Do you have any availability in 2 weeks? Because we want to do our garage. And that was how I got my first client.
Mm. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. But you had made your business, but you weren't advertising it yet, and you just got it from helping somebody
Yep.
else.
Yep. And then I started
I love
figuring out where
that.
to
I love
advertise,
that.
and it took off.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. And you stay very busy, and you're very, very good at what you do. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I think our relationship is interesting. I forgot how I ended up hiring you to help me in my home, but I think I just heard that you were an organizer. I'm like, I love her and I would love to work with her. I like to work with people I like. I just feel like if there's good energy between us as people, then I'll enjoy working with you. And it's very personal to have. I think one thing that both of our businesses have in common is when people come to me with their fitness, they're very vulnerable, right? They're embarrassed that they're out of shape or that they've gained weight or that they've let themselves go. And there's a lot of vulnerability to that. And I take that as a big responsibility and an honor that they trust myself and the team with helping them with that. And it's really no different with home organization, especially if you're not a neat person. And I think the first project that Jen did for me is my closet. And we don't have some of the homes have these huge elaborate closets. My closet is not like that. I did have like a container store. Like I had some things done in it, but it was not. Anyway, she came in, and what blew me away was she made me take she made to take everything out of the closet, and she redid the closet in a way that was so much more functional than what I had before. And like her eye for things like, oh, just move this shelf or move, like I just would never have thought to do any of that. And she really talked to me because at the time, all my clothes, like, a blouse or whatever, were hanging. And she's like, well, what do you wear the most? She's like, and I'm like, well, every day I wear a tank top and workout pants or a sweatshirt and workout pants. And she's like, well, then that's all the stuff that you should have right here. And she took all my rolled up tank tops and jammed up stuff that were in drawers, and she hung them by color. And the beautiful thing is, this is the beautiful thing, because this was years ago. This was probably at least 3 years ago. If you walk into my closet right now, I won't say it looks exactly like the day Jen left, but I will tell you that is the first time in my entire life I have been able to maintain. Because it's one thing to have somebody come in and organize it and set it up. But if you're not naturally a neat person and you throw things on the floor but I don't know why, this system just worked so well for me as far as having, like, I don't dig because I can see all, like, and she wouldn't let me keep everything. So I'd have to be able to, but it was so smart. And it was just really a brilliant way to design it. I want you to talk about that, Jen, like, I'm not necessarily having used me as an example, but how do you work? How do you know just how to help somebody that obviously is not naturally organized? Like what's your mindset when you're setting somebody up or going into a project?
Well, and I don't know if you and I did this because we met in a different way, but most of my projects start with a video phone consultation. And I like to figure out where people are and what it is they need, right? Like every person, every client, and every project is so different. And so I really need to dig in and find out, like, not just what their goals are, but what's preventing them from getting there. And then kind of meet them where they are and come up with a plan and then a system that works best for them. Not everyone's going to need me to come in and, talk them into getting rid of things or hang things up by color or whatever. Everyone's going to need something different. And I think, kind of like what you were saying, how when people come to you and they're very vulnerable and it's very personal, although I haven't been doing this for 25 years, for 20 years, I was working in recruiting and HR. And most of the conversations I was having with people were very intimate. You're talking about their finances and you're talking about what they're going to be doing with their life. And you really want to make sure it's right fit for them. So I think I've really have a lot of great experience talking with people and honing in on what they need and then helping them figure out how to get there. But now I just get to do it in a much more fun way. At least I think it's a much more fun way. Yeah, so every single one is really completely different. Lately I've been working with a lot of people that are a little further along in life and they're looking to downsize, right? They're going to get rid of the big family home. They're going to move into um, a smaller, more easier to manage sized home. And they're getting rid of a lot of different things. So that's a completely different conversation because these things are
Yeah.
sentimental or
Yeah.
they just had them forever and there
Mm.
isn't a need for them anymore, but they know why they're getting rid of them and they know why they're downsizing. And it's a completely different conversation. And then what to do with those
Yeah.
items is completely different. Because with yours, it was like, let's put them in a bag and donate them because you have nice stuff. You just don't need it
Yeah.
anymore. Let's go. But with other people, it's like, it can be a harder conversation. Are we going to hand this down to someone in your family?
Mm.
Are we going to sell this? Should we have an estate sale? Um, and really letting people take their time with those decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and in my situation, one thing that I was very grateful for is you were very non-judgmental and you say that you're like okay. Sometimes you'd be like a hat that was like ripped or whatnot. I'm like, Jen, I'm keeping this because and I have a story for it and you're like, okay, and I'd be like, okay, she's letting me keep my
Well,
hat.
one thing that I like to do is if someone is doing a great job getting rid of things and we're donating and we know a friend wants this and we're putting in the trash and we're donating and then we get to one item that we're hung up on, that's okay. Like keep that one item. You're doing such a great job. There's no reason not to keep it. And then there's also the magic of going through all of your stuff again because those things that you hold on to that you might feel silly holding on to, when you go to put things away or when we go through things again, for whatever reason we've decided to go through it again, sometimes those things you were going to hold on to, you're like, you know what? My closet looks so perfect right now. I don't think this deserves a spot in there. I think I'm ready to get rid of it now. So there's really no reason to make the whole process harder by saying, no, get rid of the hat when let's just keep moving, right? Let's just keep trusting the process and we will get there.
Yeah, but it also like it just going back to my personal experience, getting dressed became so much easier. Like so much easier because that's where I think I would make my messes. I'd be like, I don't want that. It's like everything in here I like. There's nothing in here that doesn't fit me or that I don't like or that has a stain or that has a rip. And like things like you displayed my boots. I remember that. Like you changed the things and you're like, I'm like, yeah, I wear boots a lot in the winter. And you're like, okay, well, it must have been winter time. You're like, let's keep these out in a display so you can see them. And I just, it changed my mindset because it made me value things in a different way. Like I'm not really a clothes person. I don't really care that much about clothes, but I felt like almost it like changed my identity and like, okay, I'm a neat, like if you walked into my closet, you'd be like, this is a neat person's closet. And it never felt that way before. And I love what you said, Jen. And that's why I think our businesses are so related. We can compare them so easily is it is absolutely true. There is no one size fits all. And you have to meet them where they're at. And what they're willing to do right now might be different than what they're willing. Like in my case, like when I first start with someone, usually in my case, it's just the opposite. When someone first starts with me, they're like, I want to come every day. I want to get this weight off. I want to do this. I have to talk them down from that. I have to be like, no, it's better that they don't listen. They're going to do what they're going to do. But I always say my most successful people build upon their own success and they don't try to do this huge overhaul. Cause there were some things like just going back to my closet where I think it was like, maybe it was like my capris or whatever. You're like, you don't need to fold those, Callie. Just put them in, like, as long as they're loose enough in the drawer. And maybe you didn't say fold them, but like, you're like, you're just going to grab those or whatever. And I was like, oh, really? Like, I can keep up with that. Like, okay, every time I wash my capris, I just like lay them out and then put them in the drawer. Like, I don't need to like roll them up a certain way or do something that I know I'm not going to keep doing. That was the other thing, that you were really practical about that.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of liking that. Like I always say when I do someone's master closet, it's going to improve their whole day because their day is going to start better. So it's kind of like my workouts with you make my day better, but
That's exactly what I was
your
thinking.
experience in the morning's a little better.
It's exactly what I was thinking, is that it changes. It really does. Like it is a mood changer. It is a mood changer.
It's a different form of self-care.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I always, that's so funny you said that, Jen, because we always talk about what we value, what is the most important thing to you. I'm not like a things person. I don't need that. I don't care a purse. I don't care shoes. I don't care. It's like comfy. That's what I'm looking for. Cute's great, but comfy's more important. And I value services. Like I have no problem spending money on deep tissue massage or going to get my hair blow dried or whatever it is. Like no problem at all. And that's what I felt like it was a combination of like, well, first of all, you made it fun, which, I mean, if you can take something that you hate and make it fun, then it's like, it's an investment that's worth making. Like I enjoyed working with you, but it also, the after effect of it was so valuable. And, can you think of a story, Jen? Can you think of like maybe another client that you felt like it had a transformation outside of just the area that you were working on?
I mean, I have one client right now that I'm working with, and so I see her often. I see her about once a week. Her and her husband have a lot of physical limitations, and doing a long, like you and I were probably together for like 7 hours that first day. Her and her husband aren't able to do that. They like to do shorter projects, and since they live so close, we kind of give each other grace on days and flexibility. And I get over there when I can, usually once a week, to work for 1 to 3 hours. And since they have such physical limitations, but they don't look like it, they have a hard time allowing people in. They just like to take care of themselves. But this is something they can't do. They're getting ready for a move. They know they need to get rid of a lot of things and they need help packing. And, at first, this was just going to be a one-time project because she told me in a very nice way. We don't really enjoy having people in the house. And we've had a lot of bad experiences with contractors. We don't have a lot of trust. And we've turned that now into a once a week get together. She just tells me constantly how much lighter she feels now that we're getting rid of things, now that we're packing things for the move. She didn't realize that she would still feel at home with things being like less cluttered, right? She kind of thought she needed all of her belongings that she loved around her and it made her feel warm and cozy. But now she also really appreciates the openness of not having everything out. And we're doing her whole house, so it's different than a closet. And, I teach her a little bit about how to organize, about how to keep things, about how to decide what to get rid of. And I really do enjoy getting texts from her once in a while telling me that she did the homework I gave her or that she got rid of something. And she's getting much more excited for her move now because she can see what she's going to be bringing with her are the items that she values the most and that she needs, for daily function the most. So that's been a really nice one to watch because I wanted to make sure that I was able to do enough and help, but not intrude on too much of her time where it became overwhelming for her. So it was definitely a balancing act. But it's definitely a good story,
It's a
ongoing
really good
story.
story. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really good story. So if you were going to help somebody, so say someone's like, yeah, I'm not going to have someone come into my closet and organize it. And that's just, I would never do that. What would be your advice to someone that wants to tackle this on their own? Like that says like, okay, yeah, I could really use this space to be better organized, or how would you direct them? What would be your advice?
Sure. So when people want things to be more organized, you want to know why, right? Like,
Right.
can you not see what you have? Are you buying duplicates of things because you can't find something that you have? So
Mm,
kind of figuring out why you want to do it. But if you're
yeah.
going to do, let's say, just your closet and you're not going to reorganize the structure, you're just going to be reorganizing your clothes, I'm going to say take everything out,
Yeah.
right? Take every single
Yep.
thing out, sort it by category. You can decide what those categories are. I usually do tops by sleeve length, bottoms by length, skirts, dresses, but you decide what those categories are. And when you have a category of all of your long sleeve tops, and all of a sudden you notice, I didn't realize I had 6 of almost the same blue top, it helps you to edit out.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
once you edit out, and if you can't decide how to put things away, put them away by the categories that you've already
Mm-hmm.
created.
Yeah.
And if you were going to buy just one thing for your closet, I would buy all the same hanger. Personally, I like the thin velvet ones. A lot of people hate those. I love them because if you don't want to hang things well, if you just want to throw them on, nothing's going to fall off. So it keeps your closet a little neater. But if you have all the same hangers, no matter which ones you pick, your closet's going to look a lot neater and things are going to fit a lot
Yeah.
better.
Yep.
So that's my 2 second how to do your closet.
Okay. I'm going to share a tip that you gave me because I had all my jeans hanging because I do have a lot of jeans. I pared down after you came. Um, and I had all my jeans hanging and you suggested that I don't have them hanging. And I thought that was like, oh, I'm so neat. I hang my jeans. And you suggested that I fold them and I put them in a different space. And one of the things that you told me to do was to have the tag of so fold them. So when you look, and I do this to my husband's jeans now too, where you can see the tag because like you want your whatever brand, that all jeans look the same if you just have them, the end of them, but if you have the tag, that's like another thing that I've kept. And now, like, when I was doing my help Andrew and my daughter, I was like, yeah, you need to have your jeans so you can see which jeans they are. And it's such a little brilliant tip. But even I remember like at Energy, like when I was like, Jen, I was doing a shelf and you were like, you just came over and you have the vision that is very just natural and like, or I don't know which the difference is, but you were just like, and I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. Like, Kelly, you need them. People are never going to put these way right if they don't all go up against the wall. There was like just so many little things that
Oh yeah, the
I think,
Spitfighters. Yeah.
yeah, the fit fighters. Yeah. I think that's what I value the most about you is you really think, because anyone can, and even I could make something look organized, but you think about how it's going to be maintained. And that's what's really valuable. Like you're like, are you going to continue to put it back in this really specific way, or how are you going, because that's how you need to set it up. Right. I think that's really what I found to be the most valuable is that you really think about how someone can maintain it. And that was just, and then I think I had you come back and we did the kitchen and the other area you did. And now I think like this, and this is another thing. This is why having a trainer or having someone like you or like in addition to helping someone organizing their space, you're kind of like a coach for organization. You're like, how do you, it was like the coffee and you're like, okay, well, why do you have the cups over here when the pot's over here? And like, how do you do your coffee? And it was like the whole process was set up. So now it's like something like, oh my God, this is so brilliant. And now I think after you left, I did a whole thing because I always make shakes and all my shake ingredients are above my blender. And it's like, it just like stations and areas and I don't know. I find a ton of value in that. So thank you for that, Jen. What would you say? Okay, so you gave a little tip about closet organization. What would you say a tip for ongoing? Like someone's like, I'm pretty organized, but like, would you have any suggestions for someone that just wants to like not have things clutter up?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you were saying before, how I talked to you about how you want to use it or your leggings. Like you don't have to fold them if you don't want to. When I go through a project with someone, it's usually edit, figure out where the home's going to be, put it away, and then make it pretty. Like that Pinterest pretty look. And not everybody opts for that last step because not everyone wants it that way. So I really think it's just a case of really thinking about how you want to live. And that's how it should be put away. I do not like to fold in my personal life. I have almost everything hanging in my closet because I don't like folding, right? My husband loves folding. He has one of those little like folding machine thingies and he loves it. And all of his t-shirts and hoodies are perfect. So you just really have to think about what's going to work for you and what you can sustain and keep doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Well, also talk about labeling. And like, I think that's a big thing for you. And that's the other thing. Like when I just helped my daughter with her closet, I gave her clear bins and put big labels on it, Lindsay, spring, fall, or fall, winter, like you did for me, because that big label, there's just something like really
there's something
powerful.
Satisfying about it. Yeah. I do a lot of labeling in garages.
Okay.
Because in garages, we'll keep a lot of things that we don't need often. Maybe our once a year stuff is in there and so forth. So if you have a good label on there, you don't have to remember from last year. In kitchens, sometimes I like labeling the bottom of things. So if you want to decant all of your flour and sugar and whatever into like pretty containers, you can see what's in there. You might not need it to say sugar, but you might want to know the expiration date, right, of your flour or whatever it is. Maybe sugar doesn't have an expiration date. I don't know. So sometimes I like to put a label, and it doesn't even have to be a pretty one, but just so you remember what date you put in there. Like I go through baking soda a lot. I use it for a lot of cleaning, a lot of whatever. And so I keep it in a cute little glass jar, but I have it labeled on the bottom, the date, so that I know if I want to replace it. I mean, for me, I never will because I use it all the time. But so labels can be used for other reasons other than just the aesthetic of it being pretty.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good. Well, the other part that I also wanted to mention, the correlation between our businesses, and I talked about it on my podcast earlier in the year, is I started off the year saying that I just needed to purge and get rid of some stuff and make my house more organized. And I got really, especially like my bathroom, that's an area. I probably should have you do my bathroom because then you could like help me with the system because I don't really have the best system in my bathroom. And I was like mad at because it took me like a whole day to do my bathroom. And I was like so mad at myself that like, I'm like, why? Like, this is such a waste of time. Like, how did I let it get this way? And da, 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 da. And, I'm a surface cleaner. I listened to something about Enneagrams with personality types and what why they are a certain way. And like, I have an issue with like anything out. Like I can't at the studio, I can't teach if the bathroom door is open. I just can't this is like, oh, I can't it's just something weird in my brain. And I'm like that in my life. I don't like stuff out. I don't like a lot of stuff on the counter. I'll just jam it in something. So in my bathroom, when like I need to just clean it real quick, I'll just jam it all in a drawer or jam it all in. But that's a terrible system. But as I was doing it, I used the analogy to my students that are potentially like got off track with their fitness or got off track with their routine to say like, this makes me feel like I can relate to people so much because for me, fitness comes easy. I don't feel good unless I do a workout. I love to work out and it makes me feel good and it's just part of my routine. I don't have to think about it. it's not a hard thing like it is for most people. But I feel that way. What I struggle with is like staying organized. So I always say like, it reminds me that even though I can get back on track and I can say, this is really important to me right now. And I want my life to be organized and I want to have things in place and not have all this extra stuff around. I always find a way to read no matter what, other than my closet. My closet has stayed good. But other than that, I always find a way to re-junk it up. So to get out of shape, let's call it. So it does make me more sensitive to my students that like be like, Kelly, I'm so embarrassed. I've let myself go. I haven't been back into the studio or I haven't this. And I'm like, you know what? I totally get it. We all have things in our lives that we struggle with that are more natural to us and that are harder. So that's something that I can relate to. And that's what Jen and I kind of joked about one of the reasons why we want to do a podcast together, because we felt like that what we do is very similar. It's very similar and it's creating a system that you can sustain. And when someone asks me, just like the pants going back into the drawers, how are you going to fold them? How many workouts they should be able to, like, okay, how many workouts do I need to be able to do right now? And I always say, whatever you can sustain, it's the same thing, right? It's like not necessarily, there's not a magic number. It's like what you can keep doing because consistency is always going to win. For sure. For sure. Let's go back to you and your fitness, Jen. Do you feel like now you're back on a good routine? Have you found your flow?
I don't have a flow. I feel much more like I'm back. I think the hardest part for me, and it's probably my excuse, right, is I don't have like a 9 to 5 job. My days are always different. And so I can't always go to the class I want to go to. I'm always going to put my clients, and my projects first on my calendar. So it's hard to feel like I'm in a routine. And that's why I was telling you the other day, I wish I was a morning person. I wish I could, and I'm still going to try, because if I could get up and work out before any client ever started and just know that my workouts are, 2 or 3 days a week at 6 maybe, then it wouldn't matter. Then I could have a routine. Mondays, I pretty much have a routine. I go to the 4:45 class. Monday is my paperwork day. I try really hard not to ever book a client on a Monday. So Mondays I have a routine, but Tuesday through Saturday is whatever's on my calendar. And then unfortunately, like me second, right? So work first, me second. And so that's why I feel like I'm back and I'm doing better. I do not feel like I'm in a routine. And I think that mornings might be the answer that I don't want.
Well, I'm gonna answer that for you right now. No. It's not. No, because if you are not a morning person and you try to muscle your way into working out in the morning, unless you change into a morning person, which at this stage of your life would be really surprising, then it's not the answer for you. Because then you're going to be looking for a way out of that because you don't like working out in the morning. You'll muscle your way through it in the beginning. I've seen people do it. They're like, I'm going to come to 5:15 just because and they muscle their way through it in the beginning. Now, the people that do 5:15 are our most consistent exercisers, the people that do the 5:15 a.m., but every single one of them will tell you they're a morning person. So
my husband does the 5:15 every day.
It's no problem for him. He's just, it's natural, like doesn't have to think about it. Yeah. So I probably wouldn't suggest that. I would suggest kind of maybe, so Mondays you have down, so you got that. And then maybe there's like one other day where during the week that you put yourself first. You have to have 2 to 3 non-negotiables, right? And then anything extra is bonus. So also, I mean, and I've said this to you before too, and that's why I'm really not surprised. I'm like, okay with you focusing more on strength. At least when I've seen you work before, Jen, your job is very physical and you move very, very fast. So the fact that like Monday is a sit day for you, a desk day, that you're making sure that you're getting a workout in on that day, I think is really smart. I would tell you to do the same. And we talked a little bit before we got on about nutrition. I always like to ask my guests what their go-to, if they have any like special foods that they eat that they feel like are helpful for when they're when they're trying to be dialed in on their nutrition. And you shared one with me that I'd never heard before.
Are we going to lose your listeners if I share it?
No, I think they might want to try it.
Okay, so in the morning for something I think that's very healthy and very, very quick, I make egg whites and peas. It's good.
I'm not going to knock it until I try it. I have a lot of crazy creations that don't seem like they would be good, and I know that they are. So I'm not going to diss. I don't love peas. But I don't know. This could be a new combination that
I like it because it's quick. Obviously, I would like to have egg whites with a bazillion vegetables. I love vegetables. I would love peppers and onions and mushrooms and whatever. But if I want to be really quick, I grab the bag of frozen peas and cook those, dump the egg whites on it, and then eat it. So good.
Okay, we're definitely going to try the egg whites and peas. That's a very, very good one. And what's something that if I could help you with, you've helped me a lot, Jen. I know both of us have talked about, we've been using each other as accountability partners when we're working on our business to just try to have short blocks of time. We've just done it a couple times, but I hope we can do it again, where we get together and just say like, okay, I'm gonna work on this right now, and we just put our heads down and do it and hold each other accountable to it, and not in the business sense because I think you're actually probably better at that than me. What would you say for the fitness sense? What's something that I can help you with?
So something I've been thinking about lately since I work out at random times and stuff, and I'm trying to focus on getting in the protein and like eating right. When should I be eating in regards to my workouts? Should I have a bunch of protein before I lift, after I lift? Does it not matter?
That's a great question.
Help me.
Okay. So I always say you need fuel for a workout. Like I don't like a fasted workout, but you don't have to have fuel right before a workout. You can have it a couple hours before a workout. It just depends on what time of day you're working out and what time you eat breakfast. You're a breakfast eater, so that's good. I would continue with that. I wouldn't think like, as long as you've had something in your stomach 2 to 3 hours before, you're fine. That fuel is going to take you through your workout. What you're talking about is really important is the post-workout. And yes, absolutely. Anybody that is trying to maintain their muscle or gain muscle, which I think all of us are, you want to put protein in your body within 45 minutes of your workout. So whatever form is best for you, whatever you enjoy, whatever you're most likely to keep doing. I do have people that go home and have a shake, and I think that's great. And it is liquid form. So it is just a great way to fuel your muscles quickly, but whatever you enjoy, but you should have something with a substantial amount of protein and then, some fat and some carbs. But if you could get that 25, 30 grams post workout, then that works out really good. If that's not a full meal for you, if it's more like 10, 15 grams, I think that's fine too. But getting some protein after a workout is definitely it. Also, what I've noticed for myself, and my students will attest to this, is if you eat after a workout, and this is something I believe in general, not eating backfires. Okay. So some people can think like, oh, I don't eat in the morning because I'm not hungry, or I'm going to hold off eating because then I'll eat less. They feel like if they can just go 2 more hours without eating, and they do this little game with themselves. That backfires 100% of the time. Every time you make a decision to do that and you don't eat when your body needs fuel, you're going to eat more later because you're naturally just going to feel like your body's going to be a little bit nervous. Like, okay, you made me hungry before. Now you better eat a lot and not make me hungry again. I don't really have the exact wording for why it's true, but I know for myself, it's true 100% of the time. I like to front end my food. And I find personally, if I don't eat about 1,100 calories by 1:00, so it's like including my lunch, then I tend to eat a lot more that day. I can definitely stay under 2,000 calories as long as I have most of it in the morning. But if I somehow it gets to 2 and I'm in the middle of doing something and I don't eat, that always backfires. So that's a really good question. I love that question. All right, Jen, I'm going to give you one more opportunity to leave us with any advice as a business person, as a professional organizer, as a fitness student trying to get back into fitness. What do you want to tell our audience today?
I think for any of it, for all of the things you just said, I think what helps me the most, and I'm really surprised by this, is just having an accountability partner, right? Someone that you can be accountable to get your work done, to get your protein in, or to get your workout done, or to keep things neat, or whatever it may be. It's not just that you're accountable to them because I'll tell anyone no, like I don't care. It's more for me like the discussing it with them and being engaged about it and getting more excited about it. Because if you just called me and we were like, did you eat your protein? I'd be like, no. But if we talk about it and if we food prep together, or if you send me a recipe one day, or if I send you, I think this would be good for your drawers one day, like someone that like shares your excitement about it and can help you get through it, I think is huge.
I couldn't agree more. I think that is some of the best advice that has been given. I could not agree more. And somebody that you enjoy and that you respect and that you want, you don't want to let down. I think that that's one of what's maybe why we work well together. Cause it's like, we both know our strengths and we both know our weaknesses and we're pretty open about it. I always say my students, the people that I feel best equipped to help are the people that are just honest about whatever it is that they're struggling with. If the more honest they can be, and that's not always on the first day, but the more honest they can be, if they try to tell you like, oh, my closet's always neat, but just it's a mess because my kid messed it up or something. And like, you're like, you don't really know the full story. You got to know the full story.
Right. I mean, the other thing that I'll say that you probably hear just as much is, oh, I'm so embarrassed. Like people will call me and we'll have our talk and I'm like, okay, time to turn on your video and show me this closet you're talking about. And they're like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. Like, I don't want you to see it. You've never seen anything like this. And I'm like, first of all, I've seen it all. There's no judgment, right? If you didn't need me, I wouldn't have a job. And I love what I do. So, and I think you're in the exact same boat. Like, I'm not going to judge what you ate, or you're here now and you want help. And I'm excited to help you.
I love that. That's so perfect, Jen. And your passion for what you do makes you really special at what you do. I think that's why you have so many repeat clients and people that whenever there's a post about the pink closet and Jen's business on social media, everyone's like, she's the best. I love Jen. She helped me so much. Da, 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 da. And it comes through, and it's sometimes it's not just what you do, but why you do it, and your passion to help people and your love of people, I think also comes through. And I think people just appreciate that. And why not? It's something like, it's just like exercise. It's a task that you've got to do, right? We all have to keep our homes somewhat. At some point we all have to, but you've got to do it anyway. Why not have it be a little bit fun? So guys, follow Jen. She goes by the Pink Closet, right? And I'll tag you when we share this. But she shares some great tips. I love it when she shares tips, and she'll show you some before and afters. And if you're thinking about, if you're like, man, I don't know where to start, just start, because the smallest project, and you don't have to have her do your whole house, but you'll learn from her. The education and just the process will help you do other things. It really will. So I highly recommend working with Jen. Let me work with her first so I get my time with her. But I highly recommend it. Even if you're a pretty organized person, you might find that there's little tips and tricks that you didn't even think about. So Jen, thank you so much for being on.
I
loved
Kelly.
Every minute of talking to you. And I look forward to both of us continuing our ventures together.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Thank you for today. It was not nearly as scary as I thought it would be.
See? Okay, good. That's more advice for other boot campers. It's not scary.
It's
All
not
right,
scary.
Jen, you're awesome. Thank you so much.
Bye, hon.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Start Before You're Ready. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend who might need a little motivation. Ready to start your own journey? Check out our workouts and nutrition coaching programs at kellysbootcamp.net. You can choose from in-person sessions or virtual programs. Set up a complimentary coaching session to get started. Follow along with me and the show on social media at Kellys_bootcamp. Until next time, this is Kelly Young reminding you that the best time to start is always now.